What's up guys, Galaxy King here. In today's video I've got my vampire combo video. I did say in my vampire deck profile that I was going to be doing a vampire combo video. So in this video I'll be showing you 4 vampire combos. I'll be doing 2 test hands, and I'll also be showing you some side options and some tech cards that you can play in this deck. And you will see 3 tech options in 2 of the combos. So let's get on with it. So the first combo I'm going to show you revolves around Vampire Ghost and either Vampire Retainer or Familiar. Doesn't matter which one of these you open up with, so long as you have one of these with Vampire Ghost. And this can end you on Beatrice, Rusty Bardiche, 2 Fogblade, Zombie World and a Balodrock. So just for simplicity I'm just going to use Retainer and Ghost. So let's show you how this combo goes. Firstly, I'm going to normal summon the Ghost, and I'm going to use Ghost effect to get rid of Vampire Retainer, to send Vampire Familiar to the graveyard, and to search our Vampire Grace. Now we are going to use Familiar or Retainer's effect. For now, I'm just going to use Familiar. We're going to special summon it by discarding the Vampire Grace. Familiar's effect will activate, adding to our hand our Shadow Vampire. We're then going to use Retainer's effect, sending the Ghost to the graveyard to special summon Retainer. We are then going to use Retainer's effect to add to our hand Vampire's Desire. Now we are going to activate the Vampire's Desire, targeting the Familiar or Retainer, doesn't matter, and we are going to send Retainer by targeting the Familiar. Now we're going to use Vampire Ghost's effect in our graveyard. We're going to banish it so we get an additional normal summon for a vampire. We're going to tribute the Retainer, which will then get banished by its own effect, to summon the Shadow Vampire. We're then going to use Shadow Vampire's effect to special summon from our deck our Vampire Scarlet Scourge. We're then going to use Scarlet Scourge's effect to special summon the Vampire Retainer. And since we special summoned a level 5 or higher zombie monster by the effect of another zombie monster, we can use Grace effect to special summon itself. Now we are going to Exceed Summon using these 2 into our Beatrice. We are then going to link off all of these, Familiar gets banished, into our Rusty Bardiche. We are then going to use Rusty Bardiche's effect to send to our graveyard Phantom Knights of Silent Boots in order to set a Phantom Knights of Fogblade. We are then going to banish Silent Boots from the graveyard to add to our hand a second Fogblade. We're going to set the Fogblade. Now we're going to use Beatrice's effect to detach any material in order to send Necro Banshee to our graveyard. Then we are going to banish the Necro Banshee from our graveyard to activate a Zombie World directly from our deck. Now going to the standby phase of the opponent's turn, we can then detach a material off of Beatrice. Sorry if things are getting a little bit messy here. We're going to detach Grace to send to our graveyard Doom King Balodrock. And since it's during the standby phase, Balodrock will trigger in order to special summon itself from the graveyard. So just with that 2-card combo with either Familiar or Retainer with Ghost, you get a pretty strong board. You get 5 interruptions. You get the 2 Fogblade, you get Doom King Balodrock, which can negate a zombie monster, and because Zombie World's on the field, they all become zombies, so you can negate almost anything. You can banish a monster on the field or the graveyard, and Zombie World is just an amazing floodgate against a bunch of decks. So that's it for a 2-card combo. Now I'm going to go onto a 3-card combo, which gives us a little bit more and gives us a much stronger field. Now for the 3-card combo, all you need is a Vampire Ghost with either Unizombie or Solitaire and any vampire that you can discard, so either Retainer or Familiar or another copy of Ghost. To keep it simple for now, I'm going to use Unizombie and Retainer. So to start this off, we are going to normal summon the Unizombie. We're going to use Unizombie's effect to send from our deck to the graveyard the Vampire Retainer. We are then going to use Retainer's effect in our graveyard to dump the spare Retainer or any other vampire monster that we have in our hand. We are then going to use the Retainer's effect, since it was special summoned, to add Vampire's Domain. We are then going to activate the Vampire's Domain, so we get an additional normal summon by paying 500 life points, so we can normal summon the Ghost. Ghost effect will activate, sending the Domain to send from our deck to the graveyard our Vampire Familiar, and adding to our hand the Vampire Grace. We're going to use the Vampire Familiar's effect in the graveyard to send the Vampire Grace, so similar to the first combo, to special summon itself. We're then going to use this effect in order to add to our hand the Shadow Vampire. So this combo is very similar to the first one, although you have Unizombie to help extend your plays so you can go into Ultimate Tezoken. Now, just to free up space, we are going to link summon using the Ghost and the Familiar to go into Vampire Sucker. We're then going to use Vampire Ghost's effect to banish itself, so we get an additional normal summon. And we're going to tribute the Retainer to normal the Shadow Vampire. We're then going to use Shadow Vampire's effect to special summon from our deck the Vampire Scarlet Scourge. Scarlet Scourge's effect will activate to special summon the Vampire Retainer, and then Grace's effect will activate. Since we special summon Scarlet Scourge after the effect of Shadow Vampire, we can then special summon it. Now here we are going to Xyz into Beatrice again, and using these two, Vampire Sucker and Retainer, we're going to link summon into our Rusty Bardiche. We're going to use Rusty Bardiche's effect to send to our graveyard our Phantom Knights of Silent Boots, in order to set a Fogblade to our field. Then we're going to banish the Silent Boots from our graveyard in order just to add, for now, the Phantom Knights of Fogblade. Now, we're not going to set Fogblade yet, you'll see why, because now we're going to use Unizombie's effect. What you need is, really this is more of a 3.5 card combo if you want to go this way. This is the way I personally prefer, since you don't really need to rely on the level of the monster you sent. In the deck profile, I mentioned that you have a number of synchro monsters that you can special summon depending on the level of the monster that you sent. But for now, I'm just going to settle for Ultimate Tezoken, since I can make both of these level 5. Shadow Vampire is already level 5, but I can make Unizombie a level 5 by using both of its effects. First effect to send a vampire from our deck to the graveyard, targeting itself to make it level 4, and then I can discard any random card from my hand to target itself to make it level 5. So you would discard whatever card you have in your hand, doesn't really matter. It could be an extender, it can be something like Mizuki, doesn't really matter. Then you're going to send these both to the graveyard in order to summon Ultimate Tezoken. Now we can set the Fogblade, which will trigger Ultimate Tezoken in order to special summon Crystal Wing. You can't go into Borrowed Savage Dragon, unfortunately, because Savage Dragon will only equip a Link monster if it is synchro summoned, and since Ultimate Tezoken doesn't say this is treated as a synchro summon, you can't use that effect. So anyway, we are going to detach from Beatrice in order to send our Necro Banshee. Then we're going to banish the Banshee to activate Zombie World. And then during the standby phase, we can detach Scarlet Scourge from Beatrice in order to send to the graveyard our Doom King Baladrock. And since it's still during the opponent's standby phase, we can trigger the Baladrock in order to special summon it. So with that 3-card combo, you get 2 Fogblade, Baladrock, a Crystal Wing, sorry about that, and a Zombie World. So a pretty strong board. There is one other variation to this combo that you can do, however. For example, if you have your Necroworld Banshee or Zombie World in your hand, instead of sending Banshee to the graveyard by the effect of Beatrice, instead what you can send is Lost Wind. So you would send Lost Wind to the graveyard, and if the opponent special summons a monster from their extra deck, you can then set the Lost Wind, which will then trigger Ultimate Tzolk'in, special summoning another level 8 Synchro monster from your extra deck. And this can be anything, this can be your preference honestly. It can be another Crystal Wing, it can be a Void Ogre Dragon, it can be Stardust Dragon if you want to give your board a little bit more protection. Really, that option is up to you. But this is probably one of the best combos that vampires can do because it is just so strong, and honestly I don't think a lot of people would expect vampires to make this kind of board. So that is it for a 3-card combo. Now I'm going to go on to another 2-card combo, which is very simple and is very similar to the combo with Unizombie, Banshee and Mizuki, where you can get Halki Fibrax, Sucker, Baladrock, which can then go into Sun Saga, but with also Vampire Domination. For this combo, all you need is Solitaire or Unizombie with either Necroworld Banshee or Zombie World and any vampire card that you can discard. So it's more of a 2.5 card combo as opposed to just a 2-card combo. To keep it simple for now, I am just going to use the Necroworld Banshee with Unizombie and Vampire Retainer. So I'm going to normal summon the Unizombie, and I'm going to use its effect to send to the graveyard another Vampire Retainer. Then we're going to use Vampire Retainer's effect in the graveyard, ditching the Vampire Retainer or just any vampire card that you have in your hand. Since Retainer was special summoned, we get to add to our hand our Vampire Domination. And for those of you who don't know what this card does, basically if you control a vampire monster, this card is an Omni Negate, and if you negate a monster effect, you gain life points equal to that monster's original attack. So here we are going to Link Summon. Before we do that, I am very sorry, we are going to use Unizombie's effect to discard the Banshee. Sorry about that. Now we are going to Link Summon. The Retainer will get banished because of its effect, and we are going to summon Crystron Halki Fibrax. We're going to use Halki Fibrax's effect to special summon from our deck the Glow Up Bloom. Now we are going to banish the Banshee from the graveyard to activate our Zombie World directly from our deck. Now we are going to Link Summon using the Glow Up Bloom to go into our Link Karibo. Now we're going to use Glow Up Bloom's effect, banishing it since it was sent to the graveyard, to special summon. If you want to, you can go into Scarlet Scourge and special summon the Spare Retainer or any other vampire monster that you sent to the graveyard. So if you sent something like Grace to the graveyard, you could, if you wanted to, go into your Beatrice and then send an extender like Mizuki or something else similar. So that the options are there in case you want to do that. But anyway, we're going to special summon the Baladrock, and then we're going to Link Summon into our Vampire Sucker. Now we can set the Vampire Domination, and during the standby phase, King Baladrock will activate, so we can special summon itself. So very simple combo that interacts with the zombie engine just as well. You get a pretty typical Zombie World board with Zombie World, Bailodrock with Sucker and Hulky Fibrax, but you also get the addition of Vampire Domination to protect your field from cards like Dark Ruler No More or Forbidden Droplets, unless they discard a trap card. So if they don't discard a trap card, you can just negate it with Domination to help protect your field from cards that you wouldn't normally be able to interact with. And obviously, when Bailodrock special summons from the graveyard, you can use Sucker's effect to draw a card and hopefully get into an extender, a starter, or a hand trap. And then we can banish the Hulky Fibrax during the opponent's turn to special summon either Formula Synchron or TG Wonder Magician, depending on what the situation is. We're going to use both of its effects to draw a card, and then Quick Synchro, once we've used both of Bailodrock's effects, to special summon our Shuinui Sun Saga. Sun Saga will activate, return the Formula Synchron to the extra deck to blow up an opponent's face-up card. And we also have Domination. Since we have Vampire Sucker, this becomes active, so at some point we can use this to negate any spell, trap or monster effect that the opponent would have. And then during our standby, Bailodrock will trigger in ordering us to special summon it from the graveyard. And then Vampire Sucker will give us an additional draw. So that is one combo where the zombie deck interacts with the vampire engine a little less. I still prefer the first two combos because they're a lot stronger and you just get more. You have more to gain from those first two combos than this combo. But I still like this combo, it's still fun to have. This is the last combo I'll be showing before I go into test hands. And as you can see, it is a bit needy, but the payoff is massive. So, very similar to the second combo I showed, what you need is a vampire that you can discard, Unizombie or Solitaire, Mizuki, Necroworld Banshee or Zombie World, and Vampire Ghost. So let me show you how this combo works. And this combo includes two tech options that I'll go over in a second, but you will see them in this combo. So starting off, we're going to normal summon Unizombie. We're going to use Unizombie's effect in order to send from our deck to the graveyard a Vampire Retainer. We're going to use Retainer's effect in our graveyard to discard the vampire monster we have in our hand. So just for simplicity, I'm going to discard another Retainer. Retainer's effect will activate since we special summon Retainer to add Vampire's Domain. We're going to activate the domain so we can normal summon our Ghost. Ghost effect will trigger, sending the Vampire Domain to the graveyard in order to send Vampire Familiar to the graveyard and to add Vampire Grace from our deck to our hand. We are going to use Vampire Familiar's effect, ditching the Vampire Grace to special summon it. Familiar's effect will activate in order to add to our hand a Shadow Vampire. We are going to use Unizombie's effect to discard Banshee. Next we are going to link summon using Ghost and Familiar in order to summon Vampire Sucker. We are going to banish the Ghost from our graveyard so we get an additional normal summon this turn. We're going to tribute the Familiar to normal summon the Shadow Vampire. We are going to use Shadow Vampire's effect to special summon from our deck our Vampire Scarlet Scourge, whose effect will trigger to special summon the vampire we discarded, so Retainer, and then Grace's effect will trigger to special summon itself. Then we are going to Xyz summon into our Beatrice. We are going to link summon using Retainer and Sucker to go into Phantom Knights of Rusty Bardiche. We're going to use Bardiche's effect in order to send our Silent Boots in order to set the Fog Blade. we're going to banish silent boots from our graveyard to add another fog blade, which we can then set. Now we are going to link summon using these two in order to go into Crystron Halqifibrax. We are going to use Halqifibrax effect in order to special summon Recover. You shall see why in a second. We are going to banish Banshee from our graveyard in order to activate Zombie World from our deck. Now we are going to use Beatrice's effect to get rid of Scarlet Scourge in order to send Gozuki to our graveyard. Gozuki's effect will trigger since it will send to the graveyard. We can banish the Shadow Vampire since we don't need it anymore, since its effect will only trigger if it is normal summoned. Special the Mizuki. Now we're going to synchro using Recover and Mizuki in order to summon the Jury Beast. Now we can banish the Mizuki from our graveyard in order to summon Vampire Scarlet Scourge. You shall see why in a moment. Then it will come to the opponent's standby phase. We can detach Grace from Beatrice in order to send our Doom King Baledrox to the graveyard, which will then trigger to special summon it from the graveyard. Now during the opponent's main phase, what you can do is you can use Crystron Halqifibrax effect to banish it in order to special summon Formula Synchron. Use both its effects to draw a card, and then we will quick synchro using Formula Synchron and Scarlet Scourge to synchro summon Borrowload Savage Dragon, equipping Vampire Sucker to it. So we have 2 Fog Blade, Baledrox, Savage and a Jury Beast with Zombie World. Pretty strong board, honestly. That is it for the last combo. Let me know what you think of these combos. If you think there's one combo that I might have missed, please let me know and I'll try to do it. But this is probably the second best end board that vampires can make. The combo you need to do this is a bit needy, I know, but honestly I think the payoff is honestly worth it. I really do think that vampires have a lot of potential. Anyway, that is it for the combos. Now I'm gonna go on to 2 test hands and see what we can do with those. Okay, for test hand number 1, let's see what we can do. Okay, not a bad hand. We got Familiar and Retainer with Grace, Solitaire and Domination. Okay, so I'm going to start by normal summoning Solitaire. I'm going to use its effect to tribute itself in order to special summon Unizombie from my deck. Now I am going to use Unizombies effect to discard Retainer. Then I am going to use Retainer's effect to send Grace to the graveyard in order to special summon itself. Retainer's effect will activate in order to add Domain to my hand. I'm going to activate the Domain. I paid 500, I get an additional normal summon this turn. I am going to normal summon the Ghost, and I'm going to use this effect to send Domain in order to send to the graveyard another Retainer and add to my hand the Shadow Vampire. Next, I am going to link summon using Ghost and Familiar. We summoned Familiar off of Gazuki's effect, so it won't be banished. I'm going to summon, for now, Vampire Sucker. Now I'm going to use Ghost's effect in my graveyard to banish itself, so I get an additional normal summon this turn. I'm going to tribute Retainer. This was summoned by the effect of its own. It was summoned by its own effect, sorry. So we're going to normal summon Shadow Vampire. We're going to use this effect in order to special summon Scarlet Scourge from our deck. Now I'm going to use Scarlet Scourge effect to special summon. I'm going to summon the Retainer for now. And also Grace's effect to activate, sorry. I'm going to pick C's using these two in order to summon Beatrice. And then I am going to get Link Summon into Rusty Bardiche. I'm going to use this effect in order to send Silent Boots so we can set a Fog Blade. I'm going to banish the Silent Boots from my graveyard to add another Fog Blade. Unizombie is level 5, so we can use its effect. So we can use it and Shadow Vampire to special summon Ultima Tzolk'in. We're going to set the second Fog Blade, which will trigger Ultima Tzolk'in, in order to special summon Crystal Wing. We are going to use Beatrice's effect to detach the Grace in order to send Necrobold Banshee. We're going to banish Banshee in order to activate Zombie World from our deck. Now, here it gets a little complicated because we have Vampire Domination in our hand. So we can set that if we want to bait the opponent out. And what we can do is we could use Beatrice to send Glow Up Bloom, which will then summon Baledrock from the deck, which can then trigger Grace. By paying 2,000 life points, I can then summon Grace from the graveyard, so Vampire Domination will then be active. The problem with that is, so far I have paid 1,000, 15, I have, if my maths is correct, and forgive me, it usually isn't, I have paid 5,000 life points off of the vampire cards. So that is one of the main risks you need to keep in mind if you're playing vampires. Be prepared to pay a lot of life points, but that leaves you open to losing to game. And as I said in my deck profile, that is the second worst feeling in Yu-Gi-Oh! Losing to game. And the first is going against Mystic Mine. So we are on 3,000 life points. So if we summon the Grace, we'll be on 1,000. Now, I'll leave it up to you if you think that's a big enough risk to take. Sorry, if it's worth the risk if you want to summon the Grace. So if you wanted to, we can detach the Scarlet Scourge during the standby phase of the opponent's turn in order to send Glow Up Bloom. And then we can banish the Glow Up Bloom since it'll send to the graveyard in order to special summon Baladrock. I'll leave it up to you to decide if you want to summon the Grace or not, or if you want to just leave Vampire Domination on the field as bait. It's up to you though, it's completely up to you. For test hand number 2, these are both going first combos, by the way, since this deck is a going first deck. Let's see what we can do with this hand. Ooh. Okay, not bad. Not bad at all. I did take out Recover, so I might not use that. Actually, I think it probably would be worth keeping Recover in the deck in case I ever want to use it. I might do that actually, I might keep Recover in my deck. Okay. I'm going to start by normal summoning the Unizombie. I'm going to use this effect to send for now I'm going to send the Retainer. And then I'm going to use Unizombie's effect to discard the Mizuki. I'm going to banish the Mizuki to special summon Retainer. Retainer's effect will activate, so I can I can add Domain to my hand. I don't think I'll be able to get to Zombie World with this hand, unfortunately. But I think I can make a pretty decent end board with Rusty Bardiche, hopefully. Sorry, I'm just thinking. I am going to link summon using these two into Sucker. Then I'm going to use Retainer's effect in my graveyard to detach Familiar in order to special summon itself. Then Sucker's effect will activate, allowing me to draw a card. And we drew into a Fogblade. That's nice. Would it be nicer if we drew into another Vampire card? Because then we could discard that to summon Familiar, and then we could get 3 Fog Blade off of Rusty Bardiche and a Domination. But we didn't. Now, I can't send Retainers to the graveyard because it can't be sent to the graveyard. Since I summoned it off of its own effect, it will then banish itself. So I think right now the best thing we can end on is Rusty Bardiche. Using Rusty Bardiche's effect to send Silent Boots in order to set a Fog Blade from our deck, and then we can banish Silent Boots in order to to add another Fog Blade, which we can then set, and then we have another Fog Blade in our hand which we can set, so we have 3 Fog Blade, which is still pretty good. And if we wanted to, we could set the Domination as bait for the opponent. Since we don't have a vampire on the field, this won't be active. So I would have preferred the draw another vampire card off of Sucker, so we could then summon Familiar and get the draw off its effect. But Rusty Bardiche with 3 Fog Blade, I think that's pretty decent, honestly. And the Domination is just bait. And then if we go, but also we have 2 Solitaire in our hand for next turn if we want to use them. And next turn we would have gotten Zombie World. So not bad, but not brilliant at the same time. I still like this end field though, it's pretty decent. But anyway, that is it for the test hands. Just 2 test hands, I think 2 is good enough. Now I'm going to go on to tech options and some side options that you can play in this deck. For side options and tech cards, probably the #1 option is Triple Rivalry of Warlords. Just a really good card to go with Zombie World. The main reason I'm not maining it at the moment is because we have a lot of monsters in the extra deck that contribute so much to our end board that aren't zombies, that maining this could hurt me just as much as it could hurt the opponent. The Zombie World lock with Rivalry is amazing, and I'm not denying that. In fact, I probably will end up siding this regardless. It's just I don't want to hurt myself just as much as the opponent. So for example, if I manage to set up my board with Rusty Bardiche, Beatrice, 2 Fog Blade with Zombie World and Balerdrock, and I have this, then yes, you could use that, because then everything will be a zombie either way. But if I have Zombie World and Rivalry, and later on I want to go into more options like Rusty Bardiche, Ultimate Azokan, and then go into Crystal Wing, and Rivalry is active, I can't do that. So for now, I think siding it is probably better than actually maining it. If you want to main it, then go ahead, it's an amazing card. And then triple Super Poly with Draco Necro Neversoul Dragon and Mud Dragon of the Swamp. Super Polymerization, just an amazing going second card and going first as well, especially with Zombie World. So you can set this and then go into Draco Necro Neversoul Dragon during the opponent's turn by using 2 of their monsters and discarding a card. And then Mud Dragon of the Swamp, this can be preference, honestly, but I prefer Mud Dragon of the Swamp. So you could use whatever Super Poly target you like, so Predaplant, Dracostapelia, Starving Venom, choice is up to you, but these are just the 2 options that I go with personally. And then we have the Gamma package of triple Gamma and 1 driver. Really good hand trap. The main reason I'm not maining it, and I spoke about this a little bit in my deck profile, is because it's only good with Shunari's Solitaire. Because you use Solitaire's effect to tribute itself to summon Unizombie, so then if the opponent tries to Ash you or any other hand trap, you can then chain this to stop it, summon Driver, and then you can go into one of your Synchros or Needle Fiber depending on what the situation is. Sorry, Halki Fibrax, sorry, depending on what the situation is. The main problem is I didn't want to have to rely on me not controlling any monsters, so that's why I chose Ash Blossom as a better main deck option, because it's only good comboing with Solitaire. Going second, yes, Gamma is very good, but at the same time, if I'm going first, I don't really want to have to, I don't want to risk it, is what I'm saying. And this is what, and this part of me wishes that Call by the Grave was back at 3, which, in all honesty, I believe Konami just limited called to push for product. That's literally the only reason I can think of, if I'm being honest. And then for some tech options, I have Plague Spreader Zombie with Recover. These two are good options to summon off of Halki Fibrax. Plague Spreader is really good for going into cards such as your Herald of the Arclight with Vampire Retainer or any other Synchro monster for that matter, or just going into Halki Fibrax using this, summon Globlim off of Halki Fibrax and then bring this back using its own effect. So you've got a few ways of using Plague Spreader in this deck. And then 1 Recover, as you saw in one of my combos, you can go into your Naturia Beast using this because you can summon it off of Halki Fibrax. It's also got a really good graveyard effect as well, where if it's in the graveyard and your opponent has 5 more cards in their Echo deck than you do, you can pay 2000 life points and special summon this card from the graveyard, but it's banished when it leaves the field, and that's a hard once per turn, by the way. So Recover, not a bad target to summon off of Halki Fibrax, honestly. I think it's really good. And the 1 Lost Wind, again, as I showed you earlier, you can send this off of Beatrice if you have something like Banshee or Zombie World already in your hand, so you don't have to send Banshee off the effect of Beatrice. You can send this, and then if your opponent summons something from the Estra deck, you can set this, then use Ultimo Tozoken to special summon another Synchro monster from your Estra deck. And that can be your preference, honestly. And then for some extra deck monsters that you can choose whether or not you want to play these. 1 Naturia Beast. If you're playing Naturia Beast, then you should probably use Recover, because Naturia Beast against quite a few decks is really powerful, just being able to negate a ton of spells just by sending the top 2 cards of your decks to the graveyard is really good, and that's not even once per turn, so that makes it even better. 1 Chaos Ruler. If you wanted to, you can play the Gamma, and then if you have Solitaire and you use Gamma to stop something like Ash Blossom, you can then go into this, look at the top 5 cards to the deck, and then mill 4 of them to the graveyard and then add 1 of them to your hand as an extender, and also helps fill up your graveyard with things like, potentially things like Glow Up Bloom, Banshee, your vampires, Gozuki and Mizuki, depending on what you send. So Chaos Ruler, if you want to main it in your Estra deck, go for it. And then 1 Yuki Onna, the Absolute Zero Maikashi. I might find a way of maining this either way, because it's a really good monster to end on. Basically, if you don't know what this effect is, each time your opponent summons a monster from the graveyard, this is twice per turn, when your opponent summons a monster from the graveyard, you can target 1 face-up monster on the field and negate its effects. And that's a twice per turn, by the way. And it has another continuous effect where your opponent's banished monsters cannot activate their effects. So against some matchups, this card could be really, really good. And then for the last card, 1 Vampire Fascinator. Main reason I'm not maining this or the new Vampire Xyz monster is because personally I don't think they're that good, or they're a bit too situational, is what I mean. Vampire Fascinator is probably the one I'd prefer over the Vampire Xyz, but I know the Vampire Xyz has seen quite a bit of success in Chaos decks now, and some Dragon Link builds, I believe. So it's the Vampire Xyz, the new one. It's not a bad card, but in this deck, I personally wouldn't consider it because I'm only playing one level 8, and that's Balodrog. So the new Vampire Xyz I personally wouldn't consider for this build, but Fascinator as a one-off is actually not bad because you can target a monster in your opponent's graveyard and then special summon it to your field, so you get more resources off that way, which is nice. And then it has another effect where you contribute a vampire monster, just a vampire monster. I would have preferred if it was just any zombie, but it's not, it's just vampires. Still, it's fairly decent, and then you can take control of one monster the opponent controls. So it's not brilliant, but it's not bad at the same time. So which is why just considering one of this for the time being is fine. And that is it for the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please let me know what you thought. Please tell me if there's other tech options or side options that you would consider. Let me know what you thought of the combos and where I can improve those combos. If you enjoyed the video, please consider liking and subscribing. And as always, I'll talk to you all in the next video. Take care.